This is City Manager Bill Osborne. Another episode of On the Agenda coming up. Today we will be talking about a real success story in downtown, namely the Downtown Conference Center which the City of Douglasville operates. Hope you will join me.
Hi, I'm Pat Smith with the Downtown Development Authority, and I would like to invite you to the 7th Annual Old-Fashioned Holidays Tour of Homes this year in downtown Douglasville. This annual event is sponsored each year by the Downtown Development Authority of Douglasville. The 2007 tour includes 4 homes and 1 business on Campbellton Street and will be hosted on Saturday, December 1st and Sunday, December 2nd. The holiday season event will begin with the traditional tree lighting ceremonies on Saturday at 5 p.m. on O'Neill Plaza. You're invited to come enjoy holiday music and catered refreshments at Cafe Noel on the plaza and celebrate the lighting of the tree with our mayor and other city officials and join in the old-fashioned holidays with a tour of this year's featured homes. Tickets are available at the Downtown Welcome Center. Celebrate old-fashioned holidays this year with our tour of holiday homes, a Downtown Development Authority of the City of Douglasville sponsored event for friends and family.
Welcome to another edition of On the Agenda. Today I want to talk about a real success story, and that is the Downtown Conference Center in the City of Douglasville. This facility opened in December of 2001. And I think it's pretty safe to say that it exceeded everyone's expectations. Later in the program, I'll be talking with the 2 people who play key roles in the day-to-day operation of the city's Downtown Conference Center. But like many success stories, this one has a unique beginning. If you lived in Douglasville, Douglas County for more than just a few years, you can remember back when we had virtually no restaurants, not that many stores, certainly no place to have any type of large meeting or social gathering, that if you were looking for a place to have a wedding or some type of reception or business meeting, especially if you were having an event in which alcohol was to be served, you had to go to the Galleria down near the airport or in downtown Douglasville, in downtown Atlanta, because there was certainly nothing in downtown Douglasville, anywhere else in Douglas County where you could have that event. In the mid-1990s, the mayor, several members of the city council, and I were talking about the need for conference facilities in the city. We knew 2 things. We knew that we had a need, and we knew that we did not have the money to build and operate a conference center. But we had heard that a few Georgia communities had been able to get a special hotel-motel tax to finance construction of a conference center or a convention center. And we decided that that's the route we would take. Now, for years, the state of Georgia has let local governments levy a 3-cent tax on hotel-motel bills, room bills, and local governments can use those revenues however they wish. Douglasville, Douglas County, most local governments in Georgia do this. Also, the state lets local government collect a 2-cent hotel-motel room tax to finance tourism operations. And Douglasville once turned that money over to the Chamber of Commerce for its Welcome Center, but in 1998, the city established a Convention and Visitors Bureau, the CVB, and since that time, that's where our hotel-motel taxes for tourism have gone. But the state also had an arrangement in which a few cities had been able to get a 2-cent hotel-motel tax for conference center purposes. And that's what we wanted to do. Well, we found out that this could not be local legislation. It had to be statewide legislation. And the Georgia Hospitality Association, which included the major hotels in the state, they were not very pleased because more cities were looking at adding on an additional tax to hotel-motel room bills, and they wanted that to stop. we eventually worked out a compromise in which they let our legislation go forward. This was in 1997. Legislation was signed by the governor on April 29 of 1997, but it had a couple of provisions in it. One is that you had a very short timeline in which to enact the 2-cent hotel-motel tax and to establish a convention and conference center authority. In other words, if you were not ready to move forward, you would not be able to meet that deadline. Well, we were ready, and so we beat the deadline. The only other government in the state that was ready was Athens-Clarke County, and so they, in a sense, came in on what we had proposed to do. If you've been to Athens in the last few years, you visited the Classic Center, that's how it was started. And Athens was able just to run forward with their project. Frankly, we were not able to move that quickly. What we decided once we had the taxes coming in, we knew we didn't want the city to be in the hotel business. What we wanted was to find a hotel developer who would build a hotel, and then we would have a conference center component with that hotel. And so we began to search for how that might take place. And we wanted a full-service hotel. And the feasibility study had shown us that that needed to be in the I-20 Camp Creek Parkway area. And we looked at some sites on land that had been annexed into the city a couple of years earlier. And we made contact with several hotel chains, and Crowne Plaza had a great interest in what we were talking about. Crowne Plaza's worldwide headquarters were in Atlanta, but all of the Crowne Plaza hotels in Atlanta were hotels that had been built by other major chains that Crowne Plaza had acquired. And the executives of Crowne Plaza wanted to build their own hotel in Atlanta. And they were looking at the site in Douglas County, in Douglasville, out around Camp Creek Parkway, to build that hotel, working with us on the conference center. But corporate changes happened. Crowne Plaza was moved to London, England, and that ended that possibility. We worked with Sheraton. We worked with Hilton on a location, Blairsbridge Road in I-20. In fact, a complete set of plans was prepared by the developer of the Sheraton, but that project also did not get off the ground. We worked with Marriott down in New Manchester. Thought we had something that might work with Marriott, who wanted a resort hotel with a couple of golf courses down in the New Manchester area, but that didn't happen either. Now, we still hope that someday we can have this full-service hotel with a conference center, and as Douglasville is growing, the Highway 5 I-20 area has become a possibility. And so we still are looking at that. So that didn't happen, but let me tell you what did happen, is the state enabling legislation that we used to create our conference center authority and start levying the tax said that we had to have a conference center, didn't matter if it was attached to a hotel or not, but we had to have a conference center in operation before the end of calendar 2001. And as we entered the year 2001, we knew we had a deadline that we had to meet rather quickly. And so we began to look at what might we do. And we felt like a location in downtown Douglasville had a possibility. The Cultural Arts Council, the CAC, had an option on what had been built on Church Street as an old cotton warehouse that had been in office use for several years. Make a long story short, we were able to secure that option. We bought the building. We hired a firm to make the design on it. We hired a construction company. The building was gutted. The building had been damaged by fire at some point in the past. All of those issues had to be dealt with. And on December the 17th of 2001, only 2 weeks before the deadline in which we had to have a conference center operational, we opened the Downtown Conference Center. And it has exceeded all of our expectations. That, as you will hear when I talk later in this program with Jennifer Bean, she will tell you that the bookings that we have had have been greater than we had expected. I can tell you Fowler Design Services did a great job on the design. Brassfield and Goree, which is an international company normally doing big jobs, decided to tackle this little bitty renovation, and they did a great job. And so when you go to the Downtown Conference Center, though, you'll see a plaque as you enter. And you'll see the names of the mayor and the members of the city council. but you will also see the names of citizens who served on the authority in 2001 at the time of the dedication. Now, I don't have time to give you the names of all the citizens who've devoted time to serve on the Conference Center Authority, but we did have, when this was dedicated in 2001, 2 of the original board members, and they still are serving. That's our long-term chairman, Daniel Baker, as well as Brenda Head. The other members at the time of the dedication were Greg Real, Manley Gilmer, Tony Oliveira, Michael Springer, and Terry Crawford. Now, the Downtown Conference Center operates through the 2-cent hotel-motel tax and facility rentals. That covers all the cost. And we have the enterprise fund, so if the City of Douglasville, Douglas County, the Board of Education, if they have meetings or other activities in the Conference Center, they have to pay, including the City of Douglasville, to use those facilities. We recently, the City Council, the Mayor, have been working with the Convention and Conference Center Authority to expand our Downtown Conference Center. As you will hear later in the program, we have some needs that we want to meet. We need to expand, and we're looking at maybe doubling the size of the Conference Center. We have already bought the 2 buildings to the west of the Conference Center, the building, the Hare Barn, to the east of the Conference Center, and we will be moving forward with a renovation. And the cost of those renovations, as well as the cost of the buildings, all being paid for by revenues from the Conference Center and that 2-cent hotel-motel tax for conference centers. Now, we won't start these renovations until July of 2008. And the reason for that is we're booked with so many events until then that we had to go way out to select a time in which we would close down the Conference Center to do the renovations. But we're looking forward to that. And just as I close this part of our On the Agenda program today, to show you how the needs have grown, how things have changed in Douglasville. When we started working on this in the mid-1990s, we probably had less than 350 motel rooms in the city of Douglasville. At the moment, we have some 2,000 motel rooms in the city of Douglasville and others that are under construction at this time. So the Downtown Conference Center, a true success story, one that we're very proud of here with the city of Douglasville. The Conference Center staff is part of the city's Department of Community and Downtown Services. They do a great job, and when I come back with the next segment, we'll be talking with the 2 people who have day-to-day responsibilities for making sure that this remains a top-notch facility in Douglasville. We look forward to talking with you more about this facility in just a minute.
So, what happens to the stuff I put in the recycle bin anyway? So you see, recycling really does make a difference. Will you put this in the recycle bin for Mommy?
Yeah.
Welcome back to this edition of On the Agenda. Our first special guest today is Jennifer Bean. Jennifer is our Conference Center and Services Director. And Jennifer, when the city back in 2001 was getting ready to open the Downtown Conference Center and we advertised for this position, what made you decide to send in an application?
Well, I was in the hotel business for about 10 years in the food and beverage industry, and I needed a change because I was very busy, took a lot of my time, and I wanted to find something that was a little bit more Monday through Friday, a little bit more office work. So when I applied for the position, I came out and interviewed, and when I came out and saw the facility and saw how good it was going to be for the community, I decided to do a second interview, and it worked out great. They hired me, and I've been here 6 years, and I love it. It's good.
Great. Well, we're delighted that you did that because you've certainly done a great job in your position. What's been the biggest surprise that you've had in that job?
I think the biggest surprise is how Douglas County and Douglasville, the demand for meeting space, banquet space, how much need there is out there for events in the county, and also how busy we have stayed in the 6 years, almost 7 years that we have been open. We have meetings and events pretty much every day, if not more than one event every day. We stay pretty busy.
Right. But I'm sure there have been some major challenges to this job. What are some of those have been?
Some of the challenges, I think, are just trying to stay with the high demand of having meeting space and staying competitive with prices and keeping up to date with audiovisual and things that are going on in the metro area and other community facilities. And also just being a partner within the community and making sure that, like I said, we're just competitive and we keep up with all the information that we need for events.
Right. Well, actually, as city manager, since our conference center operates as an enterprise fund, it's to be self-sustaining. I'm delighted that your challenge is how you deal with all the groups and individuals wanting to book space rather than having to go out and beat the bushes to find people to come in to use the facility. And then, of course, we've got all different kinds of groups that use the Downtown Conference Center. Tell us about some of the groups.
Well, some of the groups that we have, we do a lot of wedding receptions. A lot of the wedding receptions book about a year out. A lot of our Saturdays are booked for wedding receptions. We do some weddings inside the conference center with their reception. We also do corporate meetings, a lot of parties, 16th birthday parties, anniversary parties, just a little bit of everything. We have a church service that uses us every Sunday and every Wednesday night. So we do a little bit of everything, but the wedding receptions probably are our biggest events that we have.
Right. And of course, the Downtown Conference Center at this time, it's 10,000 square feet with the ballroom, which can be divided into two parts, another meeting space. And basically, we have a catering kitchen, and that was a decision made when we first got ready to build this facility, that there's no cooking in the kitchen. It's a warming kitchen, and so people bring in food, the caterers, and for service. You know, as you look at the different groups that we have that use this facility, I'm sure that as you have talked with these groups and individuals over the past 6 years, I know we've gotten a lot of compliments, a few complaints, but what are some of the things that they've said to you about, this was great, but we really wish you had this? What are some of the added features that they have talked to you about?
I think some of the things that we need are, we definitely need a lot larger ballroom. We seat about 200 right now. We need to be just a little bit bigger to host maybe 350 to 400. So we definitely need some larger space. And also, if we had a little bit more breakout rooms and meeting rooms, I think we could host 3 and 4 day conferences, maybe draw in some more people into Douglas County and Douglasville area. And also, of course, the full kitchen, like you were talking about, a lot of people ask us about, so they can cook in the facility if we do larger events. And then also the updated audiovisual, wireless internet, that kind of thing, to make sure to keep up with the technology, with everybody having laptops and things like that.
Right. And of course, earlier in the program, I had mentioned that we're in the process of working on an expansion of the conference center and upgrading it. And what you've just covered represents a lot of good input that we had in deciding what needed to be done, because it's aimed at meeting needs that had been presented to us. Right. As you've marketed the conference center from the beginning, give us a couple of examples of some unusual things that have happened to you in the marketing process.
I think some of the unusual things, I guess it's just how many events we've had, the number of people we've done events for 300, 350. We've had some interesting people, some local celebrities, some politicians, that kind of thing. Also, we rent the plaza, O'Neill Plaza, with the conference center, so we do some things in conjunction with the conference center, conferences, weddings, that kind of thing. So I think that's some of the things that have been pretty interesting for me when I'm doing the conference center.
Right. And you mentioned O'Neill Plaza. Of course, there are some groups that have activities in O'Neill Plaza and the conference center combined. Might do the wedding in O'Neill Plaza and then the reception in the conference center. In fact, I think in September, we had 18 different events on O'Neill Plaza, so it gets a lot of use as well as our conference center. But the conference center, as I mentioned to our viewers earlier, it started life as a cotton warehouse and then was an office building. Any way you look at it, it was an old building that we had to retrofit, and of course we have had to deal with some problems with the old plumbing system in downtown. What are some of the other perplexing things, though, that you've had to deal with the conference center, other than just being hopeful that the restroom facilities might be working good when you had the biggest crowds there?
I try to think of some things that were for the conference center. For me, just the change for me was just I thought I was going to be doing more sales and marketing and things like that, but I've kind of become more of an event planner, helping people with caterers, DJs, just answering a lot of questions and helping them through their event, planning their meetings and things like that. So that's kind of more for me as far as the conference center. Like you said, the plumbing, but everything is, working well. Can't really think of anything else.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you being with us today. You're one half of this team we have that does such a great job, and when we come back in a minute, we'll be talking to the other half of that team, and that'll be Carlos Underwood. Hope you have a great day.
Thank you.
Now available at the Douglasville Welcome Center, the 2007 Downtown Keepsake. This year's Keepsake is a beautiful depiction of the Farmers and Merchants Bank Building at the corner of Broad and Campbellton Streets. Don't miss this opportunity to own your piece of historic downtown Douglasville. This year's Downtown Keepsake is available now at the Douglasville Welcome Center, 6694 Broad Street, next to O'Neill Plaza.
Well, welcome back to On the Agenda. My second guest today is Carlos Underwood, who is our Conference Center Maintenance Director. Carlos, you began work at the Conference Center before we opened in December of 2001. You've seen a lot of things happen in the Conference Center, and through it all, you've maintained your zeal for this position. I tell people that, that Carlos Underwood thinks that Conference Center is his Conference Center. And that's the way we want you to feel about it, because you have that personal touch that you've always done with the Conference Center. And of course, you had worked for our maintenance department and for a while and left us, went into the private sector, I think as a sales representative, decided to come back to city employment and to take the position as to heading up the maintenance operation in the Downtown Conference Center. What attracted you to come back to this particular job with the city?
Well, we're closer to home, and I like living and working in the same community.
Right. And, day by day, I know you're handling room setups, you're keeping the place clean, you're doing maintenance work, you're having to keep up with all these different events. How do you juggle all of those things in your schedule?
Well, we established a procedure at the beginning, and good communication with staff and conference center manager, and just having to stay on top of things.
And long hours, too.
Long hours too.
I was working. I'm prone to work late and come in early, and I left one night. I guess it must have been about 11, and Carlos was still working, and I thought I was here early the next morning, about 15 to 7, and I saw Carlos, and I said hello to him, and he told me hello, said he'd been working for a half hour. And but we appreciate how Carlos really is very diligent about what he does at the Conference Center. Now, back in 2005, you were chosen as our City Employee of the Year, and that basically was because of the great job that you do being an ambassador, really, for the city at the Downtown Conference Center. How do you maintain such a great attitude day by day, Carlos?
I love my job and love helping people in any way.
And I think that shows. You know, we're constantly getting positive reports on Carlos. Almost not a week goes by that I don't have somebody tell me something that Carlos has done to be of extra help. But you know, I was real surprised a few months ago. I had a lady call me. She was down on you, Carlos. She was criticizing, and I guess it just proves that you can't always please everybody. But I can tell all of our viewers that with Carlos, there's probably no one city employee that we get as many compliments on as we do with the way that you make people who enjoy the Conference Center feel at home, and you're right there to take care of their every need, and we appreciate it. There have been almost the feeling that we've had sometime you've been a one-man show. Now, when you started, you had one helper. We've doubled that. There are 2 helpers now, I believe. But, you know, you've got a lot of events. Jennifer Bean was talking earlier about all the different events we have. So how do you handle it when you've got 2 or 3 things in the same day?
Well, every day is different, depending on the size and number of events. And sit-ups and having to flip the room.
Just stay busy.
Yeah, right.
Right. Well, what's been your major challenges since you've been here? What would you describe as the major challenges?
Maintaining balance and good customer service and keeping order without us upsetting customers.
Right. And I know that on some occasions that you do have some instances you may have somebody that's unhappy about something that happens within, say, a wedding party, or you'll have a group of young people with a party. And in fact, what the city council and the mayor require when we have an event at the Conference Center involving teenagers, that there has to be a police officer, an off-duty officer present, because we feel like this is needed for everybody's safety. But as we closed, give me just an example of something unusual that's happened since you've been at the Conference Center.
Well, the meeting of interesting people such as First Lady Mary Perdue, Senator Max Cleveland, Monica Kaufman, just people you wouldn't ordinarily have a chance to meet every day.
Right. And I think it's safe to say you enjoy your work.
Yes.
And we enjoy having you in that position, and we have enjoyed having you today on the agenda.
Thank you.
City TV, bringing Douglasville and Douglas County a new look at government TV. With Ask the Mayor, on the agenda, the police report, the lineup, and city council meeting broadcasts. City TV, programming for our citizens.
Thank you for joining me today. If you are interested in booking space in our downtown conference center between now and the end of next June, please get in touch with Jennifer Bean. But it's been a pleasure to have you with us today, and I hope you will join us next time for another episode of On the Agenda.